The Drake and Kendrick beef have inspired multiple Big Three lists in various industries. So Adam22 dropped his Big Three hip-hop media platform list shortly after Akademiks and Joe Budden linked up for a podcast where several shots were taken at the No Jumper platform.
Joe Budden, you zesty perkhead motherfucker. Somebody sent me a clip of Joe Budden claiming that No Jumper is doing real bad in terms of our views and everything. So let's do the science. Joe Budden's channel has got 12 million views in the past month. No Jumper's main channel plus our Clips channel has done about 26, 27 million views for the past month. So we are 2 times by far what you have going on. And on top of that, we kill it on Facebook. We kill it on Snapchat. We have 3 million followers on Instagram, and we make a huge amount of money on there. Joe Budden, I don't want to hear shit. You're running a chop shop. You might have the whole hip-hop media gassed into thinking that you're really killing it like that. But trust me, when you want to talk about who's really doing business out here, it's not you. There's a Big Three, and you're not in it. It's me, Vlad, and that fat motherfucker you were serious.
Adam22 makes an argument that the Big Three of hip-hop media is Vlad TV, Akademiks, and No Jumper, and that, Joe Budden doesn't really fit into the Big Three. Now, his reasoning for this is, if you look at the numbers solely, well, No Jumper, Vlad TV, and Akademiks all outperform Joe Budden in terms of the reach of the platform and the numbers. Now, Joe Budden is a podcast who does things like kind of like half and half on Patreon as well. So, you'll probably have to take that into consideration. In terms of just the numbers that we can see, Joe Budden is in top 3. Now, others will say that their Big Three includes actual skill and who they think is the best Big Three, regardless of numbers. But even when you discuss talent and who's best, it's pretty subjective. So you really only have to go by the numbers, bro, because that's the only objective measure we have to figure out who's the best, right? Now, Adam will even take to his Twitter to further cement who, he was talking about, because he did say that the fat MF you were sitting with, that could mean anybody. So he clarifies he was talking about Akademiks, Vlad, and No Jumper. Adam will say the Big Three of hip-hop media platforms on YouTube are Akademiks, Vlad, and No Jumper. Joe Budden will follow the Adam tweet with a tweet of his own. He will say, some of you media ninjas been trying to force a beef/relationship with me for years now. I'm too at peace for the contrived hootenanny, and my God is too good for me to pretend like he isn't. Please don't let me be a distraction to your plans. With a little more focus, you maybe can lose even more, LOL. He's clearly talking about Adam22 and the recent statement and video that Adam put out. Now, Joe Budden did something he usually don't do, because he's like he usually sneak this No Jumper and Adam on his podcast, but never really address it directly. And he told his audience that he would no longer be engaging with Adam or No Jumper, but he did something unusual today. Now, it was unclear if the words of Adam22 just hit a soft spot or a sensitive point for him, but he addressed No Jumper directly. He even responded to a No Jumper quote tweet, and he went ahead and said this: hate to break it to you, buddy, but there was never a hip-hop media Big Three, and capitalize that H in hip-hop when you speak about it, white boy. Adam will say there is a Big Three and the numbers say you aren't in it. MF checks Social Blade one time and starts tweeting about Jesus. Laughing emoji. Joe will respond back to Adam by telling Adam that a Big Three hip-hop media platform doesn't exist, and there's only 2 people on that list. Him and his man is Akademiks. So Joe is saying that the only people who are on the Big Three hip-hop media platforms is the Joe Budden podcast and DJ Akademiks. Here's where it gets really awkward. Like, it gets super awkward. So Joe Budden only puts him and Akademiks on the list, while the other person, Akademiks, that he puts on the list, well, they gave their opinion on the Big Three, and they said that they 100% agree with Adam22 and that No Jumper, Vlad, and Akademiks are the top 3, and Joe Budden isn't on that list.
2 things. I do think Adam is right. And let me give him the things he's right about. I think when it comes to hip-hop media platforms, I do think it's him, me, and Vlad. And we have to define platforms because, they give out this award every year where they're like, yo, this, they'll be like, creation now a platform. And yes, it technically is a platform. And anything is a platform, technically, right? Except they put out a podcast once every 2 months they're not really affecting the day-to-day happenings and the ebbs and flows and the news and the happenings really within the culture consistently. And also they don't have part of their platform that is even built in to help the progression and dissemination of music news.
So Academics actually clarifies why he would put Joe Budden off the list and keep the list to No Jumper, Academics, and Vlad TV is because Joe Budden doesn't really disseminate the news outside of his podcast. He's a podcast. He's not really a hip hop media platform, meaning Joe Budden isn't breaking news stories. He's not posting information. He don't have a blog. He's just a podcast. And when academics look at the platform and what encompasses a hip hop media platform, it has to include the dissemination of information, which is a fair point. But the pushback against that is, well, who dictates what encompasses disseminating information? So, for example, I don't have a hip hop blog or I don't have a hip hop website where I disseminate news. But if my podcast is breaking news stories, if my podcast is letting people know when a Drake diss is going to drop, if I'm giving information and breaking news on my podcast, isn't that a media platform? So who dictates and who defines what a hip hop media platform is? That's the pushback, but I would agree with academics in terms of what a hip hop media platform is. I would say like a Say Cheese or a No Jumper or an Academics, those are platforms. A Carisha Please or Drink Champs or let's say Men Hours Worth of Game, they're not really, a media platform. They're a podcast.
Culture. Joe has, I've always said, the number one podcast. Number one podcast that is in hip hop. It's not even close. But do I look at his podcast as the hip hop media? It is a hip hop media platform, but do I look at it like, that's like the premiere, that's where the culture is happening at? No. I think they're the first take or the undisputed of, the culture, but you wouldn't call undisputed first take. The biggest, platform you'd probably call maybe ESPN or whatever, or Fox Sports, the platform in terms of that, or even Barstool.
I feel like the culture is in a great space if we even have enough platforms for us to debate what a big three is. Back in 2016, we really couldn't have this discussion because there wasn't enough platforms to have the big three debate. This just, goes to show how much we have evolved as a space, and we're still evolving, bruh. In 5 or 6 years, there's going to be an entirely new big three, so again, now, do I think that Joe Budden is completely out of it? I don't, bro. I feel like Joe Budden, Academics, and Adam 22 are the three voices in hip-hop media that can shift the culture, right? They can give an opinion that's going to carry weight and spread. So I believe because those three are able to shift the conversation, I would put Joe Budden somewhat in my big three over Vlad TV if I was to have an opinion, right? And now if we're talking about hip-hop media platforms, Vlad TV has been running for over 15 years now, right? So, we do have to factor him into it, but, my big three in terms of the personalities, Joe Budden, Academics, and Adam 22. Platforms, I don't know, right? But y'all let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think? Who is you guys' big three, all right? And if you're still watching, click on this video somewhere on my screen to find out how Rick Ross, Drake's diss track, may already be backfiring against him. Click on this video here to find out what I'm talking about. I'm out of here, folks. Peace.